Welcome, everyone. My name is Lucy Gray. I am a consultant and educator, jack of all trades based in Chicago, Illinois, in the suburbs, Northbrook, Illinois specifically. And we're welcoming you to the Thrive2 conference, United for Democracy and Global Action. For a number of years, I have hosted online events for educators mostly using the Ring Central events platform. It used to be called Hop In, and then Ring Central bought it, and now it's called Ring Central Events. And with this license, I can do as many events as I want to, as I can handle. We've had anywhere from between 300 and 1,100 people show up for various events over the last 5 years. It's a platform that I think is fairly easy to use. It takes some initiative from people to learn it, but other than that, it's a very reliable and useful platform. I think I've had an education in what's going on here in the United States and also abroad in terms of democracy being at risk. And without getting too political, the idea here, how do we get more people to be actively working towards preserving democracy? And this is meant to be a nonpartisan event. We did one in March. Thrive 1 was in March, and we did a traditional conference at that time and had a pretty good turnout, about 350 people registered. And we'd like to grow the conversation and give people tools and resources to help them pick one thing to do and carry it forward, because it's really up to us. And it's not just the United States, it's around the world. So this is open to anyone. This particular event is a little bit more geared towards the United States because we have midterm elections that are very important coming up in November. And so we really want to focus on the United States, but this is open to anyone who has an interest in this to attend, present, support in any way. So that's a little bit about Thrive and where we're going with this. I've been working with a great team of people, some of them who are here in the audience, and I'll introduce them when I'm done with this, and they can tell you a little bit about their experience with the first Thrive. This event is going to happen, did 2 days of online giant teach-in around democracy, and we had all sorts of organizations and people sharing their ideas and their work. When we do an all-day conference, it's like drinking from a fire hose. It's a lot of content to digest, and I think sometimes people are at a loss for what do we do next? So this event is a follow-up to the original Thrive, and we're doing 2 days between 5 PM and 9 PM Central Time, or 6 PM and 9 PM Central Time on the September 10th and September 17th, which are Thursdays. So it's a 3-hour commitment over 2 weeks. And the idea is that people will attend, hopefully both of them. If not, they can watch the recordings and then commit to doing some sort of action that makes sense for them that will help with the preservation of democracy wherever they are in the world. So that's our intent with this. It's completely free to attend, although you can make a donation if you want to. We are looking for sponsors who can help cover some of the costs, but we really want to make this accessible to people. So let me tell you a little bit more about what's going on with the conference. So this is our structure. We want people on the day one to learn about what's going on in the current civic landscape. We're hoping organizations will share their tools, resources, initiatives that people could pick and choose from in terms of their own journey. We also want people who are ordinary citizens doing the work in their neighborhoods, sharing their strategies and insights into being a little bit more of an active citizen. And then on the second day, that second Thursday, we're going to really work on connecting and a goal for how we're going to act. We want everybody to pick one thing that they're going to do in the next week or 30 after the event, and then we'll have a informal meeting at the end of that 30 days to report back and see how we've done. And I think the bottom line here is we want to give people civic confidence. We want them to feel comfortable with their choices and finding the right match for them in terms of what they're going to do. It could be writing postcards to get people to vote. It could be sending messages to your elected officials. It could be volunteering with an organization, however you see fit. There are lots of different options for people out there, and we want to help you find the one that makes sense for you. We want you to share that. So We meet every week. If you want to be part of our group planning committee, you're more than welcome to be part of it. We'd love to have you come in as you're able to. We meet this time every week. And I think we've all felt overwhelmed and isolated, looking for the right spot to start our activist journey. And so planning on something that will help other people feel less overwhelmed and isolated. And our driving question is, how can we help more people become informed, confident, connected, and active participants in democratic life? It's really about having people be participatory, because that's what democracy is all about. And we really want this to be as nonpartisan as possible, action-centered, and justice-aware. The 3 pillars are understanding the movement. That's gonna be the first day, picking your pathway in terms of your own learning. Then the second day is really gonna be about participating and setting a goal for yourself. And then the follow-up meeting will be about sustaining the work. How do we keep this going? And that sort of thing. So we're looking for sessions that address any of these kinds of things, but we also are looking for things that have some themes too. We're doing two 3-hour live blocks, September 10th and 17th. The platform will be open for asynchronous networking and consumption of content. So you can come in at any time and learn something, but the live sessions are going to be going on. It's free. Space will be available for several weeks so that you can revisit anything that you want to do. We're hoping to a bunch of educators mostly on the conference committee, and but we're looking to our horizons beyond just educators. We're looking for community organizers, everyday citizens who are doing the work, nonprofit and civic sector leaders, anyone who's interested in spreading the word about how to be an active citizen on this planet. So these are the kinds of people that we're looking for, and we're not necessarily looking for the experts on things. We're looking for people who are passionate about something and who want to share their ideas and their work and connect with others. We want people to get a sense of the moment, choose their pathway of what they want to focus on, and identify one action. That's our simple formula. I think I've said it ad nauseum so far, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but that's what we want people to do. That's the basic structure of it. So those pathways could be joining with a group of educators, librarians, and youth leaders, joining a group within the community of community organizers. These are the different kinds of entry points. And the themes that we're going to be talking about, the strands within the conference, are focused on digital democracy, media and information resilience, youth voice and civic participation, local democracy, civic infrastructure, civic learning and public education, community dialogue and bridging differences, civic innovation and emerging solutions, organizing, advocacy, and collective action. You guys can read, but I'm reading this aloud for anyone who's watching the recording. Data-driven insights for civic good and resilience, care, and sustainable action. I think taking care of ourselves in this moment is also really important, and we'd love to see some sessions on that. And then finally, democracy, justice, and inclusive participation. Those are the conference strands. When you submit a proposal, you'll be asked to select one of those strands that your proposal will address. You can do a couple different things. You can either do a 20-minute short type of presentation, or a 50-minute one. We will have featured speakers that we're selecting from some of our partners. People can propose interactive workshops that are more not so sit and get, but are more collaborative. Democracy clinics are troubleshooting sessions where people can pose questions and challenges and address them together as a group. Our call for proposals goes into this a little bit more detail. Other kinds of formats in here are action circles, which are small group conversations around a shared role. It could be simply a networking time for librarians to talk, for example. Civic sparks are one idea, story, or strategy. They're I'm trying to think what you would call it, like a lightning talk, 20 minutes, and it's one practical thing for people to focus on. We also are inviting people to submit resources, doing a showcase of their program or whatever they're promoting, and that can be a short 20-minute session. Then organizations who are partnering with us are welcome to submit spotlight videos that we will put into our action library and be available for asynchronous participation. They will also air during the conference as well. using something called SimuLive, which is part of the Ring Central platform. So you don't have to you don't necessarily have to present live. You can also submit something that's recorded or asynchronous. And whatever works for you, that given your timeline, your constraints and your time, we're happy to have however you want to participate. These are some of the ways that you can do this. You can present live, you can submit a spotlight video, you can contribute to our resource collection, you can facilitate an action circle. And then our expectations around presenters are that you will attend a training session, which is usually an hour long, or watch a recording. You'll identify one participant action for your group, for the people who attend your session, and you'll include some sort of interaction in your session. We really want these to be interactive. And hopefully you'll contribute something to the action library. And because this is a community effort, we really rely on everybody to help get the word out. We don't have a big budget for promoting this and that sort of thing. So we're really leaning on people who are part of the conference committee and who are presenting to help us get the word out and spread the word. Educational technology is my background, and I really believe in using technology for good. And this platform and this format is a way for people to come together when it's not possible for them to come be in person. Clearly, being in person is preferable and more exciting than being online. But we want to make this as close to as high quality an event as we can in order to take advantage of the possibilities of technology. One of the things that's occurred to me over the years of doing these events is that there are a lot of people who want to get involved with things, but for whatever reason, whether it's a physical reason, a budgetary reason, they can't necessarily travel to a physical place. And so this is one way to make it more accessible to everyone. And that's something that we're very mindful in planning this too. We'll provide lots of support for speakers and for uh, attendees in terms of learning the platform and joining things and so on and so forth. The Action Library is going to be a space that will build with our content. It will include things from people, including these types of things, and it will be available for you on an ongoing basis. I have a current database that's really huge right now, and I'll show you what that looks like. And it's going to be something like that, but a little bit more curated. So this is what we're seeing, the experience of what we're going to do. We'll have an asynchronous space where people can kind of connect after the conference and check in after a week. And we'll come together periodically to revisit this and see how it goes. Hopefully we'll do a Thrive2, but we're planning some informal check-ins post-event to keep the work going. So if you don't want to present, and if you want to attend and get more involved and just be part of our community, I'm going to turn it over to our conference committee people in a minute. We'd love to have you join our volunteer team. We're calling ourselves Thrive Guides, and you can volunteer during the actual event, helping making sure everybody is comfortable and can find where to go and that sort of thing. You can also drop in for our conference planning meetings every week if you want to. I think we've developed a really nice group of people who are, I'm speaking for myself, I find it a relief to have this group to share ideas with and to talk about the state of things. So if you're looking to feel like you're not alone in this, our group is for you. So it's basically do what you can when you can. It's not you don't have to spend your entire life volunteering. We understand that people have lives, but this is the kind of thing that we want our volunteers to be able to do in the immediate and then the long term. For people who are interested in sponsoring us, we do have a sponsorship structure. If we get sponsors, great. We'd love to have that. There is a lot of time and materials that's put in terms of producing this event. And we're underwritten by the Charter for Compassion, who's paid for the platform, but it would be really nice to have more support. So if you want to get involved, in terms of sponsorship, this is what the framework looks like. We really want this to be accessible to everyone. So everyone can sign up for free right now and reserve their spot. And then if you want to be a supporter, an individual supporter, you can also buy a supporter ticket if you want to. So there's no different levels of access to things. everybody will have the same access. It's just, this is a way for people to contribute if they want to. Actionable Innovations Global is my group that creates virtual events for educators and now for everyone. The Charter for Compassion is an organization that's been going since 2009. It is the result of Karen Armstrong's TED Prize that she gave a talk, the first winning TED Talk in 2008. And with her prize, she started the Charter for Compassion, which is a document that basically says compassion is the unifying value amongst the world's religions. It also is, it's run by a woman named Marilyn Turkovich, who has been a mentor to me. She also ran my student teaching program here in Chicago a long time ago. I won't say how long. And she's an amazing she's the executive director now of the charter. And she has deep connections in all sorts of places, including the Sea Learning Program at Emory, with the World Organization of Nobel Peace Laureates, you name it. She knows people in the kind of the social justice activist world. And so the charter has paid for the platform for this year. And they're also doing other events that I'm helping to produce, including a youth conference in September. If you're interested in that, I can tell you more about that. But we're partnered with this, and we're hoping to have more partners that will join us. So here's what we need from you. We want you to attend at the very least. We want you to share your work if you're doing anything on this front. And I'm thinking of people like my former next door neighbor who's been amazing in Chicago, taking care of people who've immigrated from other countries in the last couple of years and advocating for them and helping them find work and that sort of thing. You don't have to be affiliated with a big organization. Another way you can help us is to sponsor or be a media partner, which doesn't require any fee. You can just help us get the word out, and we'll recognize you for that. And if you're an individual who wants to be part of this and get more involved and more connected, please volunteer and be part of this. So that's our overview. And I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and I'm going to introduce some of our committee members and have them tell you why they're involved with Thrive and what they're hoping to get out of this. I'm going to start with Joyce because Joyce is always on the ball. So Joyce, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to introduce yourself and talk about what your experience has been.
All right. No pressure, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joyce Whitby. I live on Long Island in New York. And I think that what I can say is that sometimes, and I have two millennial daughters, so sometimes we have this conversation all the time. It feels like, what's the use, right? Why should I say anything? I'm only one voice. I'm only one person. And you feel like, is it really worth the effort? And then once we did Thrive, the first one, I realized that together, our voices can really come together and be amplified. I learned so much. It gave me a great amount of hope that I can kind of dig into on a day-to-day basis. And I think with that, I just want to say I'm looking forward to Thrive2 because democracy thrives when we all show up. That's a great line Lucy put on our main page there. I love that. I put it on a post-it in front of me here. And when I was growing up, my mom always said to me, you have two ears and one mouth for a reason. And that was so we could listen to each other and we could get engaged and we could connect and we could then help others connect. And so I hope that's what you'll find from Thrive2. So thanks for being here today.
And thanks for your work on this, Thrive, Joyce, for coming every week and being dedicated to this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your leadership. It's amazing.
Yeah, we're having. I think we've had a really good time getting to know each other, and some of us got to see each other in person recently at a conference for EdTech, and so that was really special. Chuck, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'd give it a shot. Yeah, Chuck Woolery, no relation to the game show host. I'm surprised that they asked me to be on this panel, the group, and this team. And Lucy has been amazing at everything she's done and the support she gives me Luddite on computers. And I'm a troublemaker. I had my first transformational experience in democracy by having 4 or 5 people meet with a member of Congress who insisted he wasn't going to do what we wanted him to do. And after a 20-minute meeting, he reversed. He went the other way. And it was the most transformational moment in my life. Second only to the birth of my first child, to see the the possibility we have as individuals to organize and make things happen. And now at a stage where I'm a scientist, biologist, and I don't believe democracy is working. And I have the reasons why and the things that need to do to change that. But I have another acronym for NFL, and that is nobody freaking listens. But anyway, it's really is up to us, we the people. But we have the use of too many ambiguous words that can mean anything to anyone. And we never get things done like landing on the moon or the eradication of smallpox. But we have to use specific words in order to achieve what we want to achieve as a group. And I'm all about right now achieving the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which in my learnings has been the replacement for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That we're never going to enforce them, but we can buy them. And without the SDGs happening, we're going to continue to have wars, genocides, revolutions, pandemics, environmental destruction, refugees, just going to keep on going. So we need to, anyway, redefine democracy, I'm saying, as the rule of law, which includes justice and includes the protection of human rights. And if we don't do that, democracy ain't going to work. So I'll stop there.
That is the most succinct you've ever been, Chuck, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I'm thinking about what's been going on in Maine this week and in Texas. And I heard that there was another person killed in, I don't know, was it in St. Augustine, Florida, I think I saw last night. And I don't know if this isn't outraging people, then I don't know what's going to get to people. And so if we're going to, I think you're right about the SDGs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And, the United States hasn't paid too much attention to the SDGs, and other countries are really taking it seriously. And just because maybe our government is not looking at them right now, doesn't mean that we, the people, can't. And think about how we're framing things and what our personal actions are that contribute to those goals. It doesn't mean that we throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I think that's a really also an important framing from a global perspective to bring into the conversation with Thrive2. So if anybody wants to do a presentation on democracy and SDGs or something like that, would be phenomenal. I think that would be great. Shelley, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry, I put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I was just jotting something down. And yep. So anyway, I'm Shelley O'Rourke. I'm in Great Falls, Montana. And my internet I keep getting the internet connection is unstable warning for the last couple of days around here. So I've been in and out. I am a retired school librarian working as a library advocate. And I think listening to Lucy's presentation, I could be a case study for Thrive. After getting involved, my civic engagement increased exponentially. So if you're wondering if Thrive achieves its goals, it definitely does, at least on an individual basis, and I think eventually on a nationwide basis here. To that end, I was just jotting down the SDGs that Lucy mentioned, because after learning more about them from Chuck, I ended up, there's several courses on Coursera related to the SDGs. So I'm in the middle of one of those right now, learning more about them. And I think if you're looking for a civic connection, if you're looking for a human connection in all of this chaos that we're living through, Thrive2 is definitely where you're going to find it.
That's a really good way to put it. I love that. Yeah, we need to be in touch with our humanities. So the SDGs are the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, Eileen. They were developed after, they used to have some goals called the Millennium Goals, and the SDGs replaced it. And there are 17 of them. I can pull them up and show you what they look like.
The website.
Yeah, the website's really good for it. This is what it looks like on the United Nations website. In the education world, some teachers have aligned their projects to these, but I think it's used widely as a kind of a policy guideline. And periodically there are events by the UN and by others where they're assessing their project or their progress. So the UN week in New York is in September. I think it's September 20th, sometime around there. There's usually events that are affiliated with that where they're looking at some of the goals and seeing what their progress is. The one that I've been the most interested in is 4, which is about education. And there are actually some sub goals with each of these. And so it's interesting. So this is a catch-all for everything. But there is, I don't know where the sub goals are, but there's goal 4A, B, C, D. They're probably in here somewhere. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about the SDGs. And again, in some parts of the world, this is driving a lot of the conversation, particularly around sustainable development. This is really what sustainable development is, all these goals wrapped up. It's not, I think sometimes people think sustainability is just about the environment, and it's not. This is the whole package. So anyway, if this is something that I think is really important, do an education conference in November focused on connecting classrooms and teachers and people around the world. And a lot of the work focuses on the SDGs. And so teachers will use this just as an example in the education sector, will use these goals as a framework for their classroom. So they may do project-based learning and have the kids focus and do research on one of these goals like clean water and sanitation. And then on the higher level, we have policymakers who are using this as developing policies and trying to be aligned around them. So take a look at this and you'll get more information about it. Okay, Anne, can I give you the microphone and can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ann Flynn. I am in Haymarket, Virginia, which is located just west of Washington, D.C. Like Lucy, most of my focus has been in education for over 30 years, helping schools get connected with the internet and technology. But the last several years, it's been primarily focused on STEM education, which bumps really nicely into many of the sustainable development goals. And it also raises a lot of very troubling questions with what is currently happening in our government and fearing that we're going to lose the leadership role as a nation that we've had in science and technology because of decisions that are being made that are going to cause young people, young postdocs, and others to seek opportunities that are in countries that are more welcoming and open to support their work. And so that's part of the motivation. I've also been doing independent consulting and get really bored in my basement and love the opportunity to talk with action-oriented, like-minded people once a week. It's just a breath of fresh air amongst the other things that I'm doing, hearing, and reading.
Coming to our meetings is one way of upping your civic action. You have to start. It's a stepping stone to doing more. So I think that's a really great point too, Anne. And I have so much fun talking to you guys. It's great. Earl, how about you?
Hi, I'm a retired teacher. And in my teaching, my focus was always on active citizenship. Then I moved on from teaching to teacher professional development and developed resources for teachers to assist them in promoting their students' active citizenship. I'm here in Evanston now, but I've just returned to the States from most of my career was in Canada. So I have some insight about democracy from two different systems that I hope to share with the conference. When I heard about what Lucy's doing, I jumped on board because I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you part of this, Earl. And I think the international perspective is really important because in the United States, we tend to be a little bit US centric. Imagine that. And I think there are lessons that we can learn from other countries who've been through this. Look what's been going on in Hungary, for example. And so anyone from around the world is welcome to present. It's a little bit more time. You probably have to do a recorded session if you're in another faraway time zone, because the live presentation times will not coincide particularly well for you. But we really would love to hear from what's going on in other countries too. Like, what are some of the activities, lessons, strategies that can be applied here in the United States in the name of preserving democracy? So that would be great. We also have some other people who are in the chat, but not on screen, who are part of our group. Who else is here? Is Nancy here? Nancy, I saw you come in. Do you want to say hello, Nancy?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Hi, I'm Nancy Blair Black, and I am in Central Florida. My background is also in educational technology, like some of the others on the committee. But I've been doing a lot of work in advocacy and democracy over the last 2 decades, everything from serving on advisory committees for our city commissioners to participating in advocacy summits at the state and national level, both in EdTech and beyond, into other issues related to SGG topics and other things that have come up. And then I've, in my work, worked with both national and international communities in advancing emerging technologies, computer science education, AI literacy. So those are some of the hats that I wear, but I have a strong focus specifically on democracy and policy. Everything that I do really looks at how we help humans to flourish specifically, which I think is a big deal. And for those who know my work, they know that building community and connection and collaboration, both locally and globally, is really important to me. So I see Thrive as this wonderful community where we've been able to amplify those things, show how important they are, both at the local and at the national and global levels. And I just think we have so much work we can still accomplish together, bringing in our diverse backgrounds, our diverse strengths, our diverse talents, and that by having these conversations on a regular basis, by coming up with true action items that we can do both for advocacy and activism, that we really are making a difference. And the stories that I've heard of impact after the first Thrive, it's even the small changes or people feeling like, oh, wait, there is something I can do. Not all of us are called to serve as politicians at the national level. A lot of us are making differences in really small ways, and all of them matter and all of them are meaningful. So it's just been an honor to serve on this committee and to be a part of this community. And I can't wait to see what we accomplish moving forward.
Wow, I love it. Thank you so much, Nancy. That is fantastic. And yeah, together we can do more. And I want people to feel not so alone in this too. It's very easy for people to say, oh, it's politics. I'm just going to, plug my ears and not listen. I think people are waking up and are realizing that things are going to be done to us unless we take some action and we express how we really feel. And I think it's important that everybody does something. And it doesn't have to be a major thing. It could be phone banking. It could be postcards again. It could be just showing up, just being present. And I think that's really important. The other thing that I think about often too is I work part-time at my local library. And I work with a lot of seniors who are not particularly tech savvy. They come in for tech help and I teach tech classes and that sort of thing. And I feel like they're missing out on so much. And so I want to enable them and empower them to be connected to the world through their devices. And so that's a barrier that we have to face here too, because there's still people out there who are not connected regardless of age. It could be a broadband issue and where somebody lives. So that equity of experience, I think, is a really important driver here. And so how we can continue to think about how we design this event so that it's helping us preserve democracy, but it's also expanding our humanity, and it's also giving people access to people, knowledge, tools, resources that they may not otherwise know about in their own context. I think that's really the crux of it. And I love the idea, Nancy, of all of our diverse experiences really contributing to that whole vision. So thank you, Nancy. And we have a new person who's joining us. I think hopefully she's here from Alicia. Are you here? You want to say hello? She might be this is her first
Yes,
meeting.
yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. And it was just so great sitting in and listening in. I had the opportunity to participate and serve as a keynote speaker in one of the conference. And Nancy invited me, and this was just such a beautiful way of connecting. And so a lot of my work, so I am Alicia Blackwood. I'm an assistant professor at Longwood University. And at Longwood, we focus a lot on civic engagement, and we have a unique program in the country called Civite, where we cultivate civic citizen leaders, and that is built in our liberal arts education foundation. So I've been in the space of education for over 25 years on a global level. I have served as a Fulbright Scholar for the US, for Southern Africa, for Botswana and Namibia. And there I learned a lot about the African philosophy of Ubuntu. And so Ubuntu is a Zulu word that means I am because we are. And all that everyone was saying is connecting with Ubuntu, because Ubuntu really asks us to really center our shared humanity. It is about our dignity and reminding us that it is non-negotiable. And so when we think about the lens of democracy and we want to see democracy thrive, we have to make sure that as a people, we feel that sense of connected, and our collective efforts, as Nancy was saying, it can be small. It looks different on different levels. And so that philosophy guides the way that I show up in the world. And I have been in so many places in doing this work and seeing even the SDGs work moving forward on an international level. I am also a peace and justice trained facilitator, and we learned how to bring people of diverse ideas in one space and to have conversations to be able to support the work. So I am here to be able to support in whatever capacity, and just to be able to be here to listen and also learn from each other as well as we continue to grow and connect.
I love it. I love the Ubuntu idea behind Ubuntu, which also is a big driver of the Charter for Compassion's work. And I think I think a return to our values and what we believe in, and examining that and how we stand up for those values or our beliefs, I think is a core part of being an active citizen. Like, how do you manifest what you believe in your actions? So I'm looking forward to learning more from you and Alicia, and we're so happy to have you here with us today. Have I forgotten anyone who else is part of our group? I don't think so. But I want to see if anybody has any questions in the chat, or if you want to turn on your camera and ask a question. We'd love to chat with you. I see some familiar names in the audience. Dana, it's good to see you here. Thanks for coming. And if Christy, too, you've been part of our conferences before. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or want to know more?
Lucy, I just want to add one thing. While a lot of the current actions have inspired this work, part of it to me is also too many people have just sat on the sidelines of whatever their political persuasions are about the issues that affect our country and the world. They just don't engage. Certainly, some of us probably have directions we'd like to see things go, but more importantly, it's getting people comfortable and, again, re-engaging with the process. That's what we're based on.
Yeah, and I think it's also been, I think people have looked at it as, I don't want to get involved. It's too messy. It's too difficult. It's too whatever.
It's
And
overwhelming also.
yeah. And how do we find an entry point into that I think is really important. I did want to mention too, the democracy, speaking of overwhelming, the democracy database that we've been developing, which I think we'll have a resource library for the conference that will be similar to this. And I'm pulling it up right now because I want you guys to see it. And I keep on adding stuff to it as I find it. But I think part of my interest is curating and disseminating information to others. And I use a tool called Notion to do this. And I bookmark articles and things that and whatever I find into this database, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's also a way for me to figure out who are some good potential partners that we could reach out to. So this is the Thrive database. It's always available to anyone. When you go to the first page, you're going to see a brick with each resource in here. There are thousands of things in here. It's searchable. If you click on one of the things, it will show you the name of the resource. It will give you a description, the link to the website, and perhaps some other information that's been grabbed from the website. And for instance, this particular thing, there's a group at Harvard called the Ash Center, which is focused on democracy and governance. And different subgroups at that center publish reading lists of books that they thought were useful to people. So I posted them here for people to look at. So if I see anything that I think is really interesting, here's a podcast I came across. There are a lot of teaching materials here for educators too. So they're here, But you can also submit a resource if you want to add it to this. There's a form for it. And then you can also look at this in terms of a kind of a spreadsheet, or you can look at things organized by type, by books, by curriculum, by region. And I keep on developing this. And so we'll see, like, here are the recent additions. These are the most recent things I've added. But the whole database is open to people, and you can submit something if you want to. The link is in the chat, and I also will send it in the follow-up email. I think it's pretty good, Eileen. I'm trying to be as I tend to be an overwhelming person, and I have lots of bookmarks and I save things, but I don't necessarily always go back to them. And in this format, it's a standing resource that we can search and add to and delete if we need to. But I think half the battle for people is knowing that where to find things and to find current items as well. Joyce, you have a comment you want to add?
Yeah, just to double click on that, because we were talking before about you feel sometimes overwhelmed. There's so much out there, and you feel like you're only one voice and you're all alone. Sometimes you also feel like you don't know all of the facts. And if you speak and then all of a sudden that gets countered, where do you go to get the real information? This database is a really great spot for one-stop shopping kind of a thing, where you can come on in and inform yourself so that you can prepare to have that awkward discussion with whomever, right? Or maybe just to enlighten other people, right? Those are those aha moments. And every time I sift through this, I do admit, when I get into this database, I all of a sudden I look up an hour later and I say, oh,
Yeah.
because
There's a lot in
been
here.
here. So I put the alarm note. Now, honestly, it's just helping you be informed with facts, and we can all contribute to it and therefore grow our knowledge together. And I think that's an important thing, just to give you a little bit more confidence to speak and to share with people that you care about and that you want to help be part of this whole country and democracy together.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, there's something for everyone in here. I think also the other thing that I find hard to deal with is knowing what's coming up too. So I want to this is a really good post. This is in Substack. This is a post where the author, oops, I don't want to do that. Has listed things that are coming up this summer that people could get involved with. So if we can rebroadcast, high quality resources like this to other people, then I think that's helpful too. Like, can we disseminate these things? So I found this really, really, really helpful. This one, it's a newsletter that's kind of giving you what's up to date. And so if we can find, and Substack, by the way, has been a really great resource for me. And I know Shelley's really involved with it. There are a lot of people who are involved in democracy and other areas of interest. I tend to follow a lot of politicians and organizations that are doing democracy work. But there, you can see, for example, this is also where in the American media, there's kind of a new force that's of independent news people who are using the Substack platform to have live conversations and non-corporate media production. And so this is what my homepage looks like. You can see that I subscribe to these people, and some of them are live right now. And not all of them ones I subscribe to are political necessarily, but they also give you recommendations. There's tons of stuff in Substack. And that last resource that I showed was from somebody's particular Substack. So we do have a Substack page where I do post stuff occasionally. Let me pull up the link to it. And I'm hoping that this will become more active. And if anybody wants to write for it, we'd love to have people do that. This is the website for it. And one of the things I didn't think about when I posted to Substack the other day, and Joyce pointed out to me, is that if you're not a Substack, if you haven't subscribed to the Substack, then it doesn't let you see the article. I think you can skip that, but there's a page that comes up before this, if you're not a subscriber. And you can see some of the work that we've done so far and things that we've shared and that sort of thing. And I also need to, and I don't think I've done this. I don't think I've added, I thought I had added all the recordings from the first Thrive here, but I guess I haven't. So I'm going to do that soon. But that's it in a nutshell. Does any other questions that people have in the chat? Have I missed anything? If you want to save the chat and you're not familiar on how to do that, there's 3 dots that are usually, I'm looking at the top of the chat window, there are 3 dots, and you can click on save chat and it will save it to a plain text file on your computer if you want to keep those links. Eileen, am I saying your name correctly? I was calling you Eileen before. Sorry.
That's okay. My name is Aveen.
Aveen, okay.
I'm
And
from
where are
S-
you based?
I'm from Scotland, but I live in Rapid City in South Dakota.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. I've driven through there on my way to Wyoming and Montana.
Yeah.
That's great. And what's your interest in democracy? Are you doing things locally or?
I live in South Dakota.
Yeah, if that says it all, right?
Do I need to say anything else?
Yeah. I'm sure it's tough. I'm sure it's, Shelley is in Montana, so it's a similar culture, I would think. So you can find kindred spirits here for sure.
So I only got an email about this at 3 o'clock this morning. I just saw it when I came into the office. So it's, wow, this looks pretty amazing.
Yeah. I sent a last minute email out at very late and I had scheduled very early this morning so that people might see it. We've been talking about this for a while, but I wanted to make sure that people remembered to come because we're also overwhelmed with invitations to webinars and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So I'm glad you came. It's great.
Yeah, it's an eye opener. It sounds wonderful. I'm very concerned about democracy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have another meeting in about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
But I
Well-
will be following up all the links that you've dropped in there.
Okay. I'll send a follow-up email too with next steps if anybody wants to get involved. And please spread the word in your local communities, everyone. I'll send a link to a flyer too that you can print out or share digitally. And we'll meet again next. If you want to join us, I will send the link to our regular meeting room and we'll see you next Wednesday if you want to come. If not, we'll see you in September, hopefully online for the event. Okay. Thanks
you very
everyone
much.
for coming. We really appreciate your time and
meeting.
we'll send the recording as soon as it's processed. Okay. All right. Thanks guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.